On today's show, we'll recap a perfect weekend for your Ottawa Senators with wins over Carolina and Pittsburgh.
And we have friend of the show, Graham Creech from TSN 1200. We get a vibe check with him after a 3-game win streak and heading into a 9-game road trip.
This is Brady Tkachuk, and you're listening to the Locked On Senators podcast.
Your Locked On Senators, your daily podcast on the Ottawa Senators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome! You are locked on to the Ottawa Senators, the only daily podcast covering the Sens. On the outskirts of enemy territory, I'm Ross Levitan, alongside Brandon Piller up in the Rocky Mountains. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Today is Monday, December 16th, and Pilsy, it took 5 tries, but the Ottawa Senators have finally won 3 games in a row.
Oh, it feels so good to get that 3-game win streak, Ross, and on a back-to-back where you travel from Carolina to Ottawa, and you get both of those wins, both with, might I add, Ross, Linus Ullmark starting in both those games. So you're in a wild card spot. The vibes are good. Positive Pilsy is back.
Well, let's talk about that because it wasn't meant to be. Travis Green was on your wavelength of starting each goalie in each game. Forsberg gets pulled up pre-game. So Ullmark goes in, and he was fantastic right from the jump. 3 minutes in, the save on Erik Karlsson, a save of the year candidate, choking up on his stick and using it almost like a cricket bat, just whacking the puck off of an opportunity that would have been a sure goal. Like, I don't think we can say enough about Linus Ullmark. We tried to. We spent about half hour on the postcast on Saturday discussing his ability. Now, later today, by the time you're listening to this, it happens usually around 1 p.m. Eastern. The 3 stars of the week will come out, and it would be a complete scam if he's not one of them.
A complete scam if he's not literally number one. Like, I don't know how any player in the NHL could have had a better week than Linus Ullmark, Ross. So, yeah, if he's not at least on there or the first star of the week, we riot.
Oh, we have to riot. Now, Nathan MacKinnon had 9 points in 3 games this week. So he might have something to say about that. He had
That's a good number 2 spot.
Good number 2, and Leon Draisaitl also had 9 points. There's actually a few guys, 4 guys this week had 9 points. MacKinnon, Draisaitl, Rantanen, and Kucherov.
Now, how many shutouts for those guys, though?
0.
Yeah.
Linus Ullmark this week, absolutely outstanding. If you go from, obviously, his first game was on Wednesday, a .967 save percentage. Only 3 goals allowed on 91 shots. And it wasn't for the damn referee in the Anaheim game blocking his clearing attempt. We could have been looking at a double dip in the shutout column for Linus Ullmark. Now, we'll talk tomorrow on the game day preview of how you ride him or what is too much for him because Levi Meriläinen has been called up. We are unsure of how long Anton Forsberg will be out. Now, everyone was saying it was a minor injury to him, nothing that's going to be super serious. Like, remember when Mark Borowiecki got hurt playing sewer ball before the game and he was out for a long time. So hopefully it's not a long-term thing for Anton Forsberg, but Linus Ullmark now is the guy. Not that he wasn't before, but there's not a whole lot of confidence behind him in terms of you got a rookie, Levi Meriläinen, who was just pulled on Saturday night in Belleville after a tough start, but he has had a great season overall down in his second full pro season. But Pilsy, like this game and these games have shown that this Ottawa Senators team, the analytics were right, that they were very good at not giving up a whole lot of high danger chances, that they were scoring less than what they should have based on how they're playing right now. It just feels like now the results are indicative of how the flow of each of these games have gone.
Well, and when you get the goaltending you expect, right? Like that helps things out. It allows the Ottawa Senators not to have to ride that roller coaster of momentum. Like, we're playing good, but we let in a bad goal. Now we're down in the dumps and now we're chasing. So not having to deal with that is absolutely huge. And yeah, the play of Linus Ullmark, I think obviously is the biggest thing. But Ross, like there's so many positives from this weekend, from Shane Pinto in the third line getting it going, from the defense core chipping in offensively, most notably Jensen and Shabbat. And to get both of those wins without Tim Stützle even getting a point is very impressive because this team has been riding on Tinted Timmy's point streaks for a while. He had a 3-game point streak where he had 2 assists in all those games. So they find other ways to win than just relying on Tim Stützle and some of their top dogs. So it's great. It's great.
Hey, we were having some fun with you over the weekend, Pillsy. Never going to hear schedule loss out of you again?
No. And look, I should not have gone that deep. Everyone knows how much this team has struggled against Carolina. So I think like Douglas Darby, great listener of the show, mentioned to me that, hey, you said the quiet part out loud, but I said it too loud and I said it too confidently that it was going to be a scheduled loss. I can't be doing that. I won't be doing that anymore. I apologize. And some people had the take, Ross, that it was reverse psychology from me. Whether that's true or not, you'll never know. But either way, I'm wrong a lot. I'm not the smartest guy on the internet. I make mistakes all the time. I got bad takes. They're terrible. It's fine. But if I'm wrong and my bad take leads to the Ottawa Senators getting a 3-game win streak and winning in back-to-back games, including one of them with a shutout and Linus Ullmark being first star of the week, I'll take that all day. I'm happy to take that. So Sens fans that were kind of pointing and laughing at me, that's fine. I don't mind. I got egg on my face, egg and a lot of tomatoes, Ross. But for this to be the outcome of my take going off the rails and blowing up in my face, I'll do this. I'll do this all day. Next week, should I do the same thing for the back-to-backs next week? I don't know.
No,
Whatever
no.
it takes, Ross. If this is the result, it's fine. And positive Pillsy's back. Look, I even got my shirt, good vibes only. It's just good vibes. There's not a negative thing that I can think of right now. So, yeah.
Was there a save of Linus Ullmark's this weekend that stood out most to you? I know we already touched on the Carlson one, but that one on Sidney Crosby to keep it 1-0 at the end of the second period was a thing of absolute perfection.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's got to be the Carlson one, Ross, though, because like that's one where and Tom Chabot mentioned it, like he needed Ullmark to bail him out there, and even Ullmark was kind of down and out with that. But that's the mentality that kind of encompasses where this team is at. You can't just be like, we're in a bad spot. We're not going to be successful here. He's down and out, and he pulls the stick back and finds a way to make the save on Erik Karlsson nonetheless. So yeah, I mean, that's got to be the one.
And if you're watching on YouTube, you can see the standings pulled up, and no team in the wild card hunt is in action tonight. So the Ottawa Senators will wake up tomorrow morning for the third straight day in a playoff spot. Thank you to the Rangers and Islanders for losing in regulation last night to keep it just that. But I'm looking up, man. Boston's only 3 points up on Ottawa, and the Sens have 2 games in hand. Now, I think if we're being realists here, you're looking at Tampa as the third team in the Atlantic Division right now, because they've played 2 less games even than Ottawa and are 2 points up. So they're 1 point behind Boston with 4 games in hand. They're coming off back-to-back convincing victories as well. Funny enough, they're both on the Western road trips right now. Tampa was just in Seattle. Boston is going to continue their Canadian portion of their trip. They were just in Vancouver. They're heading to Calgary for a game tomorrow. So it's fun, man. Standings watching in December. Nothing like it. We're having an absolute blast covering this team right now. A team that has strung together 3 straight wins, and over their last 10 games have the best record of any wildcard team right now, 7-2-1 in their last 10 games. Absolutely love to see it, but now the hard work begins on this road trip. The Senators are 5-7-1 on the road this season, and in those 5 wins, they have 3 shutouts. So kind of interesting that they're able to still get some blanchage in the column of goals. Again, so many great performances to get to. We get to more with Graham Creech, and we're looking ahead as well. But the vibes are at an all-time high here with the latest in a season. The Senators have been in a playoff spot since April 2017, Pillsy. Like this, I don't think you can, like, people are maybe saying like, hey, act like you've been there before. We haven't. We haven't. So let us live. Let us enjoy. I think it was a little early 5 games into the season when people were posting the standings, but it's past U.S. Thanksgiving, and the Sens are in a playoff spot as of today.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, look, but Ross, we can enjoy the moment, but like the team mantra is, you can't get too high and we can't get too low. Before the weekend, I got too low. Now I got to make sure I don't get too high. I can raise the bar up a bit, but we got a tough test ahead of us with this 9-game road trip. So we got to be focused on that.
Before we get to Creecher, I mean, we have to touch on that overtime winner from Brady Tkachuk, his 9th career OT winner. And don't listen to Tristan Jarry saying he missed his shot. Only one of a handful of ridiculous statements from the Penguins goalie postgame. We had some fun with that on the postcast, but he also said he just dragged it around and missed his shot. I mean, to me, that was a perfectly executed curl drag score.
I get Ross, just like what I said, if you're shooting and it's going to miss the net, but it ends up going in and is the game winner, that's fine. Like who cares how you get it done? And in overtime, Ross, the shots, 0 for the Pittsburgh Penguins, 1 for the Ottawa Senators. So worked out nicely.
It worked out nicely to get Graham Creech back on the show as well. If you remember, we had him on about 3-4 weeks ago after a disastrous weekend in Vegas and Colorado. And it was a gloomy Monday. We said, Creecher, when we get a 3-game win streak, you're our first call. And Creech answered the call like the Avengers, said, hey, let's go. Let's get back in the saddle. So let's get to our conversation here. Half hour with the host of pre and post game coverage on TSN 1200, Graham Creech. You're listening to Locked On Senators, your team every day.
Today's episode is also brought to you by our friends over at Mary J's, a locally owned cannabis dispensary in the Ottawa area. And they got 4 stores in Ottawa. You can check them out at Riverside, Orleans, Greeley, and Russell. Mary J's offers the best and newest products in the market, and they're adding new stuff to the menu every week to keep it fresh. They got competitive pricing. In fact, they're going to go ahead and price match any store in Ottawa. That means you're guaranteed to get the best price around when you shop at Mary J's. And they've got awesome customer service with friendly bud tenders who are always ready to help you out. One of the owners, Dashy, absolute beauty, diehard Sens fan. He's usually at one of the 4 stores. So go say what up to Dashy. Pick his brain about the Ottawa Senators and all the latest, greatest products that Mary J's has to offer. And check out the website and pick yourself up a loyalty card. That's Mary J's Dispensary.
What up, Dashy? Today's episode is also brought to you by Gametime. You want to go see the Ottawa Senators on this road trip like Pilsy will in Calgary, like I will in Winnipeg. We're using Gametime to get our tickets because we know that Gametime has the best ticket availability. Not only that, but at the best prices. And they also have Gametime Picks, which filters out the fluff. If someone's trying to sell their ticket for an absurd amount of money, Gametime will filter that out and only show you the best deals on the best tickets to go see a game. And that's whether it's sports, comedy, theater, music. If you're going to an event, go check out Gametime. They've also got seat views. You can watch a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy. And then when you want to buy, boom, 2 clicks and you're right in, ready to go. You can toggle on the all-in pricing feature. That means no surprise fees at checkout. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL, and you'll get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL. That's LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download the Gametime app. What time is it? It's game time. All right, we now welcome a very good friend of the show back to the program. It's TSN 1200's Graham Creech. Creecher, 3-game win streak. Can you believe it?
Thought it would never happen, boys. How many times did we go back and forth joking when they got to 2 games and then laid an egg on the 3rd?
Yeah, hey, you busy tomorrow? We might be there. Nuh-uh. But not this time, Creecher. And, Saturday night, you were in the building. What was the atmosphere like there?
Yeah, good vibes. Good vibes going into it. It was sold out. And I think people were fired up, obviously, from the Friday night big win over the Canes and just Ullmark standing on his head. And when that whole situation unfolded Saturday, they see him between the pipes. Like, I don't know if you guys heard on TV, but there was Ullmark chants multiple times. Linus Ullmark throughout the night. Like, people were fired up. It was a good vibe. Last home game before Christmas, so festive spirit. Like, it was good energy, and they got the dub. So it was awesome.
Yeah, did you get the vibe that everybody was like, all right, it's like a Christmas send-off. We know we're not going to see you till January 9th. Like, let's pack the building. Let's get the vibes up. Linus Ullmark is starting. Like, was that very obvious that everybody was in that hyped-up mood?
Yeah, 100%. I was hoping that, like, after Friday night, I checked out the tickets. I was talking to some people from the Senators. I knew that they had just a tiny bit of work to do to sell it out within the last 24 hours before the game. And I thought they'd get it done just because the reaction we took Friday night from fans was nuts. Like, typically, if they win on the road on a weeknight or weekend, you get reaction, but you don't get a ton of phone calls, especially on like a Friday night. Like, people are happy, they go about their weekend, let's party, whatever we got going on. And they won, so there's nothing to complain about. But we had like 20 phone calls, people fired up, talking about playoffs and all that. So I thought that was going to be a good vibe, and it usually is. The last game before Christmas, usually it comes a little bit closer to it, but it's always a good vibe. You get Carlson and Crosby in town, so I thought it was going to be good, and it lived up to the hype. They were the fans delivered.
Well, last year, the last game at home before Christmas was also an overtime win against the Penguins. December 23rd, Tim Stützle won that game in overtime for the team. I remember in the first period, too, where he put Crosby on his back around the offensive zone and had a great goal. So awesome to see that not only are they in a playoff spot, but yesterday's out-of-town scoreboard couldn't have been any better either, right? The Rangers lose, the Islanders lose in regulation in the last minute of the game. Heading into this 9-game road trip, Creecher, you just saw them get a huge road win on Friday. Like, are you nervous or excited here with what's coming up?
No, I'm optimistic. I think there's a big enough sample size that they've shown that they've committed to playing the proper way, and they've been saying that all year. Like, whether you're talking to them in scrums or just kind of behind the scenes, they've been consistent with their message about committing to play the right way for each other. And even when they weren't getting the results and they were flirting with 500 for so long, they were like, the message was the same. So I'm buying in that they're going to continue playing the way they've been playing for the most part, more often than not. But it is a test. It's not a 9-game. It's not a true 9-game road trip, because it's split up with Christmas and stuff. So it's not like they're on the road, but you're right. Like, they have 9 games as the visiting team in a row, which could create problems matchup wise and whatnot. So I'm a little bit wondering how they do on this trip, but I'm optimistic that we're watching a much better team than we've seen in recent years.
And they're going into buildings where they've had a little bit of trouble. Not only last year, obviously, get one win outside of the Eastern time zone in the Western Conference, but you look at like Vancouver, Calgary, those are 2 buildings where they haven't had a whole lot of success. But as you mentioned, it's basically a 4-game road trip right now. Then you've got the Christmas break. Then you come back for another 4-game road trip. And then I think the boys will come home after that last game out west, because then they've got 2 days off and then play in Detroit. So it'll almost be a one-off there at the end. So that's my way of rationalizing it. I'm not sure if the players do the same thing, but I just know that the first 4 games, you got to win 2, right? Like, you get above 500, you got to stay in that mix, right? Like, you don't want to undo all this great work that you've done over the last little while. Which players over the last stretch here have really helped you? Not only Linus Ullmark, we could talk about him all day, but outside of that, have you noticed maybe a line or a few players that have really helped elevate this group?
Well, I'd say the big one that sticks out is the third line. I think they've been tremendous. Like, even before Pinto got his 2 goals in Carolina, it's like, it's coming for this guy. He's playing so well. Cousins is playing the best hockey he's played as a Senator, and Amadio is looking like the Amadio that I think a lot of people thought he was going to be when they signed him, that they saw him be in Vegas. They were spending a lot of time in the opposition and the games leading up to that. Now they get a few goals, a Cousin goal, a couple of Pinto goals. On top of that secondary scoring, the coach can trust them defensively, and that's huge for this road trip. Is now they have 4 lines that they trust, but three lines for sure that they could put out against anybody. That's huge. So that for sure. And then an obvious one I gotta say is Tim Stützle. He's a monster. He's for sure reached that next level for me. He's an absolute freak out there, watching him every night. And they load up the Tkachuk, Norris, Batherson line, and like, no disrespect to Gaudette and to Giroux, but Tim Stützle is capable of driving a line on his own. He's doing it. He's unbelievable. And the thing I like the most about his game, there's a lot to like about his game right now, but he's eliminated asking for calls and stuff. Like, it's gone from his game. So I think I love that about him. Yeah, the mindset change with the whole group, I think is evident, especially Drake Batherson. Man, I'm going on here, but Drake Batherson's another guy. Like, total buy-in from him. Obviously, he's got a tremendous shot and is probably the best playmaker on this team. And you can see the rest of his game, he's bought in. Like, he's never going to win Selke, but he's not going to be chasing dash 30 anymore. He's committed to playing on the right side of the puck. So I've been blown away by his commitment, probably going back to when Jacques Martin took over, but especially this year, he's been awesome. And there's so many more guys that I could say as well. But if you ask me to narrow it down, I'd say the third line, because it just gives Travis Green those three options that, especially on this 9-game road trip, they can play any line against anybody.
And Creech, you talk about how good Tim Stützle has been lately. And the crazy thing about these back-to-back wins in Carolina and then at home, no points for Tim Stützle. Like, he had 3 consecutive games with 2 assists. And typically you think, hey, if Timmy's not going, this team's in trouble. But that's why it's so important, like you mentioned, that third line was getting going. So I thought it was kind of interesting that Tim Stützle had no points in these back-to-back games. Another part of the Sens game I want to highlight, and I'll get your opinion on it, is they're finally getting some offense from the back end, in particular from Chabot and Jensen. They each had a goal and an assist in both the games. Like, how huge is that for the Ottawa Senators, a team that I'm pretty sure this weekend they were talking that the Sens have the least amount of goals from defensemen in the entire league. So now to get some chip in from that, like, how huge has that been?
Yeah, going into the weekend, Chychrun had more goals than the Sens' entire blue line had.
Yeah, that's tough.
Dude, Brandstrom would have been tied for first in goals on the Sens blue line.
Oh, man. The franchise, boys?
Oh, yeah.
It's humongous. And you know what? This is a name that I should have mentioned to Ross's last question, but Nick Jensen, like, how good of a find has he been? I always knew he was like a quality top 4 guy, but like, whenever the Sens played Washington, I wasn't like focused on Nick Jensen. Now you kind of get the ISO cam going when you watch guys every single night, and he's been great. He's got great wheels. He competes really hard, and he's just in good spots for his partner. So that's obviously helped Chabot's game elevate. And Chabot joined us. Actually, one of the cool features, I don't remember if I mentioned this last time, but what the Sens are doing this year is, after home wins, we get a player in our studio for a chat. And like, we'll talk a little bit about the game, but also more about their whole career or life or whatever, depending on the guy. And Chabot joined us after, I think it was the Detroit game. And he's like, you guys see, like, I never consistently had the same partner. And he wasn't like throwing excuses at why he wasn't playing well on partners, but like, you guys know, like, there's times he's playing with guys that maybe should be a third pair guy, and he's
playing in Russia
pair, or something like that. Yeah. And then, yeah, maybe he's playing with this guy one night and that guy another night. Like, now he's playing with a quality top 4 guy every single night, and they're both flourishing. So Nick Jensen's being a huge addition. Really, really like his play.
Today's episode is also brought to you by FanDuel. I've been having a great time betting against teams around the Ottawa Senators on FanDuel. Shout out to the New York Rangers, lining my pockets this weekend. And I do that at FanDuel because it's the #1 sports book. And what I also love about FanDuel is how well they treat new customers. If you are a new customer, you can go to FanDuel and put a $5 bet in. And if that bet wins, you'll get $150 in bonus bets. Boom, just like that. So head to the app, download the app, because it's so cool how you can also place bets on the same page where you can see live play-by-play and check out all the latest odds on whether it's a goal score, whether it's a win, whatever you're feeling. Don't miss a hunch and get to FanDuel. So you can go to FanDuel.com and get started and see it all in one place. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's over at FanDuel.com.
Today's episode is also brought to you by our friends at New Sponsor Alert, Ross. New Sponsor Alert.
Woo!
Okay, I like that. And you're going to like Rocket Money. Did Rocket Money help you find any subscriptions you forgot about or that you were paying for twice? I know that's definitely happened to me. I'm sure it's happened to Ross. I've had a few subscriptions that I didn't even realize I was paying for. And Rocket Money made it so easy to track them down. It's like having a personal assistant for your finances. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps you find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps you lower your bills so you can grow your savings. It brings everything into one easy place, whether it's subscriptions, your spending habits, or even the goals you want to hit this year. If you're saving up for Sens playoff tickets, maybe. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved you up to $500 million total in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all the app's premium features. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/lockedon today. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon today. rocketmoney.com/lockedon. Check it out, guys. Rocket Money.
All right, now back to our conversation with Graham Creech. With Nick Jensen, something our friend Kyle Bukowska said with Elliot Friedman on the 32 Thoughts podcast. They were talking about Ryan McDonough, and I've been watching this part of the game a little bit more. And Nick Jensen, to me, is the guy for Ottawa. When he gets out of position, it's how quickly he can get back. Like he's using his speed to create things in the neutral zone, especially. I think he flies, but even in the offensive zone, for these like stay-at-home kind of mobile defensive defensemen, you don't expect them to be so confident with the puck on their stick offensively. And he's kind of grooving around a little bit, but then the second he snaps it off his stick, boom, he's back in position. I feel like that's something that had cost Ottawa in years past. Not again to throw the previous decors under the bus, but it felt like whenever they got out of position, it would be a chance at the net or it'd be a 2-on-1 the other way. And now it feels like, I don't know if it's coaching or just the talent that they have in skaters on the back end, but are you noticing that too, where guys aren't out of position as often as maybe they were in the past?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of credit that the new coaching staff deserves. I think it's crystal clear that they have a plan in place and they're executing it for the most part. And they obviously, part of that is having their D be aggressive, and Jensen does it really well. And you're right, like in your assessment of him, he's playing at like the same pace the entire game. Like he's just so quick. When he makes the decision to go up the wall and keep it in or make a play and then right back to position, and usually his partner's supporting him pretty well. Tyler Clevin, I know he went through a stretch where a couple mistakes ended up in the back of the net. He's a rookie defenseman in the NHL. Those things are going to happen, but I've liked how he's responded. We were joking the other night. What I call it when they do it is pinching with a purpose. Like yep. He's really good at that, whether it's just keeping a puck in and making a hit on a forward, or what I've really liked about him and what I like about all defensemen that do this is when he gets an opportunity with the puck, he doesn't just toss it back in the corner. Like forwards work really hard on the cycle to get the puck out and get it back to the D. And then you have a D throw it back in the corner. You got to go back and cycle those big D again. So what Clevin's doing is he's got confidence to make a play, and he'll walk a guy that he's physically stronger than. Maybe they bounce off him and he puts puck on net, and he's got, you guys know, he's got a bomb of a shot, and whether it's with his own shot or creating a rebound, he's creating a chance instead of just chipping it back in the corner. So he does that well. Jensen does that well. Shabbat, like the guy, I thought he played at like one pace for the last couple of years when he's playing 30 minutes plus a night and kind of going one pace out there. Now that he's been dialed back and the coaching staff trusts the three pairs the way they do right now, like he's flying out there, like he's dancing, and he's able to get back to that level that you saw maybe in his first year or two in the league, and especially at the World Juniors when he was the MVP of that tournament.
Well, and I'm just pulling up for people watching on YouTube, the defensive pairs with the fewest expected goals against per 60 minutes. And JBD and Tyler Clevin are the 11th among defensemen who have played more than 200 minutes at 5-on-5 together. And I want to pick up on the Tyler Clevin hype train, because it's not only with the puck on his stick, which the confidence is clear, but what was the vibe in the building when we got a patented K-train hit? I mean, this guy, it took him a while to get the physicality at the NHL level, but that's not the first time he's done it this year. Might have been the first time at home, though. What was the pop like in the stands? And then Ottawa comes out of that with a power play to boot.
Yeah, they were loving it. And I've talked to a few former NHL defenseman about his physicality, and I think it's just an adjustment to the pro game, right? Like he wanted to be comfortable in his assignment, in his own play, before maybe taking him out of position with a big hit or whatnot. And now that I think that he's got his feet wet and is feeling confident and comfortable in the NHL, he's allowed to be physical and be nasty. And I love that hit on Achari, but I think what I loved even more was guys get in his face, and he's so big and strong and a little bit mean that he's shutting them down right away. And he got a good punch off. It probably should have been 1-1 there, and he got away with it. And then it was Bunting in front of the net a little bit later. He's coming at him, and he just kind of pushes his head down, like, get out of here, little man.
Yeah.
The Sens D, the blue line really needs players like that. Like, I think they could use another guy like that on the blue line, but it's someone that's just big, physical, and not just big and physical. We've seen a lot of big D acquired on this team in recent years that aren't mean. Like, and you can't fake mean. You either have it or you don't. And he's mean. He likes being nasty. So it's gonna be fun to watch him progress as an NHLer as he gets even more games under his belt. But yeah, I like the way he's playing right now, and he's confident with the puck. Like, he makes real good plays in his own end to his partner. He'll hold on to it rather than just giving it away. And you know what? While we're on it, shout out to Jacob Bernard-Docker. Like, he's playing some good hockey right now, and I was watching him a lot on Saturday. Like, he's dialed. There was play where Clevin pinched, and I think I've mentioned this before, but we're sitting at the top of 113. It's an unreal spot to watch the game because you can feel it. You can hear the guys talking, but you're like high enough where you can see kind of plays develop a little bit. And just, you could see JBD's eyes on that play. Like, he was so dialed that he was in great position to support Clevin if they did get behind him. They've been playing some real good hockey together as a third pair.
Oh, so good. And you're in and around the room. Like, can you speak to how contrasting Clevin's play is from his personality? He feels like the quietest guy ever.
Yeah. So the room is like, on practice days, there are guys that hang out and guys that don't hang out, kind of thing. So I don't see him hanging out a ton. Like, not that he avoids anyone, but he's just not like a rink rat that's always in the room. Like, there's a couple guys that are, like Drake Batherson's one where he'll just take his gear off and talk to anybody. You come up and you talk to him about life or his dogs or hockey, whatever you want to talk to him about. He's kind of chit-chatting. There's guys like that, and then there's other guys that just kind of get off and get to the showers and get out of there. They don't like spending any extra time just chit-chatting with the scum media kind of thing, you know? So not that, like, there's not that I've caught an attitude or anything like that, but you're right. Like, he's kind of quiet, and I haven't had a ton of, like, just chit-chat conversations with him in the room.
Yeah. Best old man, best family in the league, though, because they're Midwesters, right? They're in North Dakota, and they come up to Winnipeg every year. We get to see his old man, and they're great people. So we're happy to see Clevin's success. Pills, you got one?
Yeah, we talk about how obviously the defense core is doing much better positionally, but there's times where, hey, you can't be perfect. And we saw that in Pittsburgh. Thomas Chabot gets out of position, and the Pittsburgh Penguins in the first period come back with an amazing opportunity. But guess what? They got a goalie now that can bail them out. Like, Thomas Chabot even said it after the game. Like, right after that, I was like, whew, you saved my butt on that one, Ullmark. And he was very appreciative. How much of a difference does that make, too? Like, you want to be obviously as defensively sound and positionally sound as you can, but it's going to happen. Hockey's a funny game. The puck bounces, things happen, and you want your goalie to be able to bail you out like that. Like, that's just got to be such a huge confidence boost for this team, knowing even if they're not perfect, they got an extra guy back there that can clean up any mess.
How do you boys feel? Like, this is, it's unbelievable. It's been a long time. I think, well, obviously since Craig Anderson, probably we're fans.
Or Anders Nielsen. Anders Nielsen gave us some good games.
There you go. Joey Decord with that beauty game. And I'm sorry.
I know. It's still tough, especially when you sort the NHL leaders in save percentage. You see Gus and Dax there. You're like, come on.
right around there too. Like,
yeah.
Isn't it okay now though that you got Ullmark?
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
It's all good. It's all good.
I don't know about you guys, but like, I was never concerned when he wasn't playing that well. Like, no. I was concerned in the moment, like, he needs to be playing better for this team to win games. But I wasn't concerned a long time. Like, we got texts and calls to post-game shows being like, oh, it's another Matt Murray and it's another this and that. And it's like, man, I'm like, this guy's resume is so rock solid throughout his career, both in Boston and Buffalo. This guy's a good goaltender. Like, he's going to get it at some point. So I was never concerned that he wouldn't find it at some point. I just, in the moment, okay, they need some better goaltending, win some games, kind of stick in it. So they have an opportunity at the playoffs. But now that he's clearly feeling his game, unbelievable. It's an unbelievable, and he's just so calm. Like, there'll be a scoring chance where on like other goaltenders, like they have to make a flashy save, and it's like, oh, you get the excitement from the crowd. They'll have the same scoring chance in this guy, and just catches it, calm. Like, he just calms things down. I love his moxie with the puck, whether it's firing a saucer pass or just playing. It was to Shabbat. I forget which game it was, a few games ago, but looked like he was going to freeze it, and then he flicked it around the net to Shabbat, and he went end to end. They got a chance out of it instead of a D zone faceoff. I love his moxie. And it's great that retire that goalie graveyard nickname for a little bit, eh, boys?
I'm still rattled he didn't get an assist on Brady's OT winner in Boston, where he made that huge save on the 2-on-1 and it rung around. Like, get this guy an apple. He's already got a goal in his career. Let's get this guy on the score sheet, eh?
Points.
Oh, man.
Oh, so good. Well, hey, with that, it wasn't expected for Linus Ullmark to start on Saturday, and the Sens have called up Levi Merelainen for the road trip. Are you going full Sorokin style with the injury in New York, where it's Sorokin every single night right now? Are you feeling that way about Ullmark? Because they got a couple back-to-backs coming up.
Yeah, I don't think you can. Like, as often as possible for sure. And now he can go back-to-back. But I would trust the staff and the relationship that the goalies and the goalie coach have together, because they have 3 back-to-backs between now and January 3rd. You can't play every game. And
we're in 4 games this week. They're going Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah, so you just can't do it. And Merelainen's put up some solid numbers in Belleville. Of course, his last start, tough weekend for the boys against Rochester. Yeah. A couple pulls for Ullmark or for Sogard and Merelainen. But yes, you go heavy with Linus Ullmark, and when Merelainen gets his opportunity, or if he does, I'm not sure how long Forsberg's going to be out for. When somebody gets an opportunity, it's the NHL. Your job as a backup goaltender is to provide confidence that you're in the staff and the group, that you can go out there and perform well and get a W. So I have trust in the staff and the decisions they make. But it's great to know that Ullmark can play the way he did 2 nights in a row with travel.
Yeah, you'll love to see that. Final question for me here, Creecher, and this has been awesome having you on for a win streak.
Yeah, let's go, boys.
To do this. Go. We haven't really heard anything about injury updates on Artem Zub or David Perron. Do you have any kind of info you can give us on when they're expected to be back or anything that's going on there?
Yeah, they keep things pretty tight. I wouldn't expect either of them before Christmas. I could be wrong on that, but I don't know about you guys. And I saw I think it was the Islander game where a lot of fans were fired up about Travis Green's press conference. And I actually, I admire the way he's handled the media so far. I think, and again, I'm not trying to throw shade on previous coaches and GMs and stuff that have been here, but I appreciate that there's less information getting out, and that they're keeping things as tight as possible on certain things, and they'll open up when asked a good question about a certain topic. But if there's information that they don't want out there, I don't know how you guys are fans. How do you feel about that? I know you always like to have the information and know what's going on. But if you want to be a successful organization, I love the way that they operate. So could he be a little friendlier in his availability? Sure. But to me, that doesn't matter. If you want to have success for your organization, I like the way that he's operated, that Steve Staios has operated when he's joined the media. How do you guys feel as fans? Do you guys want more info, or were you feeling kind of like what I'm saying?
Well, I think with Zub, it's fair enough. It's it's a fractured foot. I just don't know what the injury is with David Perron. That's the only thing. Upper body, I guess, but I feel like with the way betting is and everything, I guess if you know he's out for an extended period of time, it is what it is. But the only thing that I care about from information wise is the starting goalie, and they've been giving that. Like DJ Smith went through a stretch where it's like, you'll find out tonight. It's like, buddy, it's a starting goalie. Like he knows who's playing. Like it's not going to change the other team's strategy of how they're going to play, of who's starting. So they give you the starting goalie in the morning, and that's all I really care about.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying about like the injuries and whatnot, and I agree to a certain extent. The NHL needs to change its policies if they want to do that in terms of the gambling stuff. Like be like the NFL. This guy's out with this injury, and he's probable or doubtful, or he's out this amount of time. Like I'm with you, but the NHL hasn't done that, so I have no
more
problem.
Of a league issue than a team.
Yeah,
fair. But yeah, like the starting goalie, was that not annoying when you'd ask, or when Gord would ask first question? And it's just like, you'll find out later. Like, come on, dude.
I never got annoyed by it because like it didn't matter. Like we thought it was amusing for sure. Like it's like really like do you think that the opponent who's better than you guys is going to care if it's Forsberg or Korpisalo tonight? Like, come on. But hey, they have their own reasons for handling things they did. So I never got mad by it. I just didn't care. Thought it was a little bit amusing and whatever. Yeah. Like,
I just thought it was like an unnecessary
you're
loose
not wrong.
end. Yes. An unnecessary loose end where it's like, now that's the chatter all day. It's like who's playing and all that. So anyways, one thing we know is that after every game, Graham Creech will be taking your calls at TSN 1200. Buddy, what are we setting the bar at now? 6-game win streak, 5? Like, you want to get crazy?
I'll channel my inner sister Jean. I don't know if you remember that from March Madness a few years ago. Yeah. We'll take this one game at a time.
Dude, you see she got snubbed? You see she got snubbed a couple weeks ago? You see that video?
Yes.
That's tough. Everyone was going by. Nobody was giving her daps.
She's a legend. You gotta give her that respect. No, honestly, I think if you want to ask me about the 9 games, I'm
saying when are you coming back on the show?
Oh,
are we doing 5-game streak? Hey, we set the bar at 3. We jumped over that. Like, how high are we setting the bar here?
You boys decide on that. You boys decide.
Let's do 6.
Whatever.
Let's do 6.
All right.
Double it.
6. Let's double it. Exactly. Hey, we could see you next Monday then. As it's a busy week for the boys. But hey, we always appreciate it. And I think people who love the Ottawa Senators post game, it's TSN 1200 and it's the postcast with Sens Central. So I feel like getting us all together, little Avengers moments here, and we appreciate the heck out of you. Maybe one night where you're not on the post game show, you jump on the postcast and we could take.
You can be a caller.
Yeah, you could be a caller, eh?
Long time listener, first time caller.
You would have the best call because I mean you've heard it all. Like, are there? Okay, final question for me. Is there any call that just lives in your head that you just remember forever, whether it's this year or all time?
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. Well, okay, I'll give you 2. One from this year is John from Vancouver.
Sens Central Citizen. We've had him on.
You've had him on? Oh my God. That guy's got a bunch of beauties. One of them this year was he called in. He was the first caller to, I don't remember which loss. It might've been the loss to Vancouver actually. And his comment was that he'd rather eat Ottawa winter road salt than emotionally support this team. So there's that. And then he also had a great one last year where I don't remember which loss it was, but they were losing and he called in and he's like, all right, guys, DJ Smith with this young core is the equivalent of wanting to go downtown, take the 95 downtown, go to a bar in the market, but you hop on the 162 Bayshore and you end up at Moxie's. And he was like all fired up. I was like, that's hilarious. So he's got a lot of good metaphors and stuff that he comes up with. And then the other one that I'd give you is we worked 6 p.m. to 3 a.m. on the night Carlson and Stone got traded. So I don't remember which night this was. It was one of those 2 nights. And I don't remember the name of the caller, but he's like, he calls in and he's like, when I heard the trade and the return, I almost put the mower in the cabbage. So we use that as a drop still. It's pretty good. And then how about this, boys? A recent one, somebody called in after a win. I don't remember which game it was, but very recently, like in this 3-game winning streak after a win. And it's like, oh man, they need to bring back Dylan Gambrell as the 3rd line center.
What?
We're like, what?
What a take.
Like, no disrespect to Dylan Gambrell, who was a good foot soldier here, but I'm okay with Shane Pinto being third line center here, boys. But you guys.
Well, I'd say so. As we pull it up here, the Sens are 37-21-5 when they get Norris, Stützle, and Pinto all in the lineup together.
Look at you having those numbers right away. How do you do that, Rossi?
Buddy, that's what we do here. I've got 3 stats that I track religiously. It's that stat, and it's Shane Pinto having a point, and when Shane Pinto has 2 or more points. When Shane Pinto gets at least a point, the Sens are 43-10-6 all time.
That's nuts.
And I'll give you one more because it goes kind of hand in hand with that. When Michael Amadio has a point this year, the Sens are 6-0-1.
Oh,
so there
beauty.
You go.
Get that
no
third line
regulation
cooking.
losses. Exactly. Get those boys cooking, and the rest is victory. Hey, Creecher, we appreciate the hell out of you, man. Everyone's already following you on Twitter, Creech __, and listening to you on TSN 1200. We'll do this again after a 6-game win streak for the Ottawa Senators.
Isn't it fun to not do doom and gloom?
I would implore everyone to go listen to last time we had Creecher on. I think it was like 7:30 in the morning on Monday after they blew the game against the Vegas Golden Knights, then tied it up with Colorado, and then with 7 minutes left, they let that one slip away. It is like Brady Tkachuk told Sportsnet after the game on Saturday, a month ago they would have figured a way to lose that game in regulation on Saturday. Not anymore. The growth is very, very clear with this team, Creecher. So we're just happy to be here, man. Just happy to be here.
Love it. Yeah, and the last thing I'll end on is leaving the building Saturday night. Like team staff, people at work in the building, they're all leaving. Like I'm there about 2 hours after the game, so I see people leaving, and everyone's fired up. Like, oh, have a great Christmas. And I'm like, hey, good luck on the road trip or whatever. Have a great Christmas, whatever. And everyone, like the energy is just high. Not that people were jerks or anything before, but like when you're losing all the time, like it's just a different attitude. And now everyone, they're 2 games over 500. Like I'm not trying to oversell this thing that they're Stanley Cup favorites or anything like that, but they're playing good hockey and they're winning games. And the whole attitude of everyone that works in the building is it's just lifted. Like it's great going to work at the rink when the team's winning. Oh,
so good. Well, hopefully they come back from this road trip above 500 and we can just keep this thing absolutely chugging along. Cause I know, you know, better than anybody, this fan base, when they we always used to hear the old adage in radio was like, when you win, you can't get a caller, and when you lose, you can't get enough, or like you can't get to them all. But this fan base has seen so many losing years that it's the opposite. Like they are starved to talk about a winning team and cover a winning team. So let's hope this vibe continues all the way to April, May, or even June. Let's get crazy, Creecher. Why not, buddy? You don't want to oversell it? I'll do it, man. It's all good vibes, man, and we appreciate having you on as always. So appreciate it, man. We'll do it again soon.
Yeah, thanks, fellas. Always appreciate the invite and talk to you after the 6-gamer.
All right, Pillsy. I'll hit my final thoughts first and then get yours on Twitter. We just posted a 7-year on this day in Sens history. It was the coldest outdoor game anyone who's listening to this show has ever been to. Ottawa Senators shut out the Montreal Canadiens 3-0 at Lansdowne Park. And on that thread, I posted some photos from my experience that night, and we want to see yours. So if you have photos from that night, head over to that thread on Twitter at Sens Central and show us your favorite memories from that freezing cold night where the Ottawa Senators got a shutout win. What a time that was.
Yeah, I mean, that's another example, Ross, where it's great to be a Sens fan and not a Montreal Canadiens fan.
Oh, it certainly is. Pillsy, final thoughts for you on today's show.
Ross, Carter Yakimchuk is on his Team Canada snub revenge tour. This guy has been lighting it up in the last 3 games. Point streak. Not only point streak, Ross, goal streak. And he's got 6 points in those last 3 games. And he's putting the puck on net. 6 shots on goal, 8 shots on goal, and then 5 shots on goal. And all 3 of those games have resulted in Calgary Hitmen wins. So Carter Yakimchuk, he's lighting it up.
Love to see it. Hopefully he can keep that going. Hey, maybe he'll be in attendance just like you will in Calgary on Thursday. They play Wednesday and Friday this upcoming week. Obviously, we'll have you covered tomorrow for a game day preview. Senators taking on the Seattle Kraken. It will be a 10 o'clock puck drop. And of course, We will have the postcast for you after that game. If you join us live, amazing. We had record numbers on Friday and Saturday. Let's keep that rolling and keep it rolling as the Ottawa Senators look to make it 4 straight wins. So tune in tomorrow midday for a game day preview. For today, we say goodbye. For Brandon Piller, I'm Ross Levitan. This has been another edition of the Locked On Senators podcast, your team every day.